Hello, everyone, and welcome to the We Have a Voice podcast. In our All Girls podcast, we will dedicate our time to covering different controversial topics.
All right, so for this episode, we're going to talk about human trafficking and
gender wage gap.
Yes.
So, Ellie, your topic is the gender age gap. Why don't you tell us a little bit more what that even is?
Okay, so the gender wage gap is kind of classified as the average difference between women and men's compensations, where women are generally paid less than males. So in 2018, the U.S. Department of Labor found that for every dollar that a man makes, a woman on average makes 80 cents. So they're losing 20 cents for every dollar that a man makes.
Wow, that is very unfair.
Yes. Okay, and this is really unfair because women make up more than half of the total U.S. workforce. The exact number that they make up is 57%, but they're not earning as much as another male. And in 2018, there was, out of 500 companies, there was less than 4% that were female CEOs.
Yeah, and that's really unfair because we do just as much as men do and work the same exact hours in the same job. So it's very unfair that we're getting paid less for the same job.
Yeah, and there's even some women that are just as qualified as their male coworkers, but they're not paid the same because they're female. Which really sucks because we've always been kind of stereotyped as incapable or dependent of men, and it's women aren't capable of doing manly jobs like engineering or any STEM job type of deal or construction, and we've always been kind of put in a box into just being stay-at-home moms or doing really female-y really female-y jobs like cosmetology or being a secretary
or a teacher,
yeah,
not going to Georgia Tech or working with computers.
And it's a bad message that we send to younger girls
and new generations.
Yeah. So something needs to be done about this because you're kind of discouraging, unknowingly you're discouraging younger girls to not want to go into those manly jobs, working in construction or becoming the next engineer.
Yeah, and also what sucks, and I realized that, for example, if a woman goes to Georgia Tech and then becomes, a programmer or something, and most of their coworkers are the male population, and they have to work more hours, work harder to reach a level that their male coworkers at because they don't get recognized as easily as their male coworkers,
yeah.
Which is really not right.
Yeah, and I found a study that was conducted by Catalyst, a nonprofit organization that helps build workplaces for women, and it found that in 2017, women had 57% had a bachelor's degree in kind of computer and mathematical, so programming, engineering type of occupations, but only 36 of them actually were able to find a job. 36% of them, were actually able to find a job when these type of occupations are classified as the US's emerging careers. So there's a lot of jobs out there, and all of those 57% of women that were graduated with a bachelor's degree could have had a job, but they didn't. Only 37% were hired and stuff like that.
And I feel that also can leave a very negative mentality for women because they could, for example, when they apply to a job and they get rejected or they don't get paid a lot, it could lead them to be unmotivated to try again and push themselves harder because they might feel like nothing will work, and that could leave them being jobless or doing things that trying to get money, trying to find money in the wrong places, which can also lead to my topic, which is human trafficking.
Okay, so tell me about human trafficking, because right now it's become such a popular topic. The mainstream media really talks about it a lot more.
Yeah, I agree with that, but sadly it isn't talked about as much as it should be. But it is getting people are becoming more aware of this problem, since human trafficking is affecting millions of people every single day.
So are like women the only ones that are getting targeted, or is it like more than? Because right now, like, I'm just thinking, like, it's probably just women getting targeted.
Yeah, so when you think about human trafficking, what comes to mind is usually a woman being trafficked or a young girl. But sadly, that is not the case. Men also are a very big percentage that are getting trafficked. Because when you think of human trafficking, you think it's the male who is trafficking the woman.
Yeah.
But there's also males who are trafficking the woman, and there are women who are the traffickers also. They traffic the man, and it's sadly overlooked because men have this stereotypical role where they have to be stronger, more masculine, have a strong mind, have a greater control of their emotions than women do, and so it should seem that it's harder to manipulate them. And as you know, right now there's a movement going on where women are speaking up and telling their stories of when they were trafficked and what happened to them. A lot of men, they stay hidden, the survivors of human trafficking, because they feel like they'll be shamed on and that no one will believe them since they have to be the stronger sex.
Okay. So what exactly is, like, human trafficking?
Okay, so there is two types of human trafficking. There's forced labor, which is also, you probably heard it as forced prostitution or sex trafficking. And this is defined as the recruitment of harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person from labor or other services through the use of force, fraud, or for the purpose of involuntary servitude, peonage, debt bondage, or slavery. And then there's another one, which is sex trafficking, which is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for the purpose of commercial sex act, in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or in which the victim is under the age of 18.
So those are not the same ones?
No, they're not.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so whenever I think about human trafficking, like, I think about someone getting kidnapped and, you know, being taken into it. Is that, like, the only way that you can get?
It is not the only way. That is a big way human trafficking works. People do get kidnapped, but there's also other ways you can get trafficked. You could get trafficked through being deceived by another person. You could get trafficked by being manipulated, or someone using your weaknesses against you. You could also get trafficked by falling through a scam on the internet. And there's been some examples, for example, women who aren't in America, some in America, but a lot of women who live in Europe, in poor countries, they try to find jobs in a different country, and they find it through the internet, so they could get scammed. So one of the examples, some women in places like Ukraine respond to ads for entertainment or waitressing jobs, and they fall in the risk of being placed into agencies that may confiscate their documents, force them into sex work. And then, like, Vietnam, for example, since Vietnam is it is a poor country, for example, an uncle may tell his niece she's going away to work at a restaurant when in fact she will be shipped to a brothel. Or you could get kidnapped. You know, you could just be walking in your neighborhood, get kidnapped, or, for example, connecting to your topic, a woman who just lost her job because she's a woman and she wasn't getting paid enough, or just because of the discrimination. If it's a male manager or something, and he just fires her to get more male workers in the company will be in the weak state of mind, so someone could take advantage of that and be like, hey, if you come work for me, you'll get lots of money, I'll pay for your debt, and then they end up being sold off to or owing that person and having to fall into sex trafficking. Yeah. Because we do live in a culture where men are the perpetrators and women are the victims, and there's no gray areas. So this results in lots of tens to thousands of boys and men who are suffering being sexually abused or trafficked silently, and it hurts them because they are, just as women, at a greater risk of falling into depression, suicide, and chronic disease. Also, they're most likely to abuse drugs and alcohols and land into prison and take the wrong path. And people assume that it's just because they're bad people, not because they're mentally hurt and they can't get the help they need. And it also stops from us becoming aware of the situation that is going on. And a lot of boys and men who have been trafficked, they feel like one of the boys was saying in an interview that they feel like they're not inclined to come out and say that they were raped as children because they're afraid that they will be ridiculed or no one will believe them. And it's sad how there's not enough awareness for them. And it makes it harder for us to help save these boys and men from being trafficked again.
So with both of our topics, it's just crazy to see how we still live in a society and how our society kind of needs to move away from this, like, sexism, and we need to stray away from putting people in specific gender stereotypes and roles. So it's something that as a society we all need to move away from and need to make more movements to stray away from that.
Yeah, we really do, because it's not making anyone better. It's just hurting. In different situations, it's just hurting everyone.
Yeah.
All humans, all races, cultures, and sexes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys enjoyed our episode. Tune in for our next episode where Ashley and Abbie Grace are going to be talking more about some different controversial topics.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye.